Maya Lin loved the sound of machines. They spoke to her in their own language, a language of clicks, whirs, and gentle hums that told her everything was working as it should, or when something wasn't quite right. The subtle change in pitch that signaled a problem before anyone else could notice. Today, the gravity generator in Sector 7 of Nexus Prime was speaking, and Maya was listening through her noise-canceling headphones. The specialized equipment filtered ambient noise while amplifying the specific frequencies of mechanical operation. It was her favorite tool, one that had saved countless hours of diagnostic work. "Come on, beautiful," she whispered to the generator as she adjusted a calibration valve. "Tell me what's wrong." Nexus Prime was the jewel of interstellar travel, a massive ring station positioned at the crossroads of 3 hyperspace lanes. As neutral territory, it served as a diplomatic hub, trading post, and refueling station for dozens of species. It was also home to Maya for the past 3 years, ever since she'd left the overcrowded Earth to seek opportunity among the stars. The station's life support systems were ancient and temperamental, designed by committee over centuries. Most species avoided maintenance work, claiming the systems were too complex or too sensitive for their biology. Maya knew better. Things designed to be fixed could be fixed, regardless of who designed them. She flipped to the next page in her manual, carefully noting the fluctuations on her diagnostic pad. The readings confirmed her suspicion. The tertiary gravitational dampener was misaligned by 0.003 degrees. A minor issue, but one that would compound over time, eventually causing structural stress throughout the entire sector. As she worked, the PA system chimed overhead, probably another diplomatic announcement. Maya didn't bother removing her headphones. Whatever posturing was happening in the council chambers had nothing to do with her. She was maintenance, invisible to the powers that moved through Nexus Prime, just the way she liked it. What Maya didn't hear was the station-wide alert announcing the arrival of Commander Themor's Corvthi 7th Battle Group. The Corvthi Empire was the undisputed military power in this quadrant of the galaxy. Standing 8 feet tall, with 4 massive arms ending in retractable claws, they had evolved as apex predators on their high-gravity homeworld. Their doctrine of strength recognizes strength had terrified every species they encountered, leading to a galactic order where other races, the insectoid Vortak, the crystalline Fenrathi, the gaseous Umbrathi, the aquatic Deep Moor, scrambled to demonstrate their value or their submission. Commander Themor's battlecruiser, the Inevitability, docked at the primary military bay. His squadron of 12 elite warriors disembarked with military precision, their ceremonial armor gleaming under the station's lights. Each Corvthi soldier carried a plasma glaive taller than a human, and each wore a bandolier of honor trophies, crystalline shards from defeated Fenrathi, vapor capsules containing Umbrathi essence, and various other tokens of victory. "Commander," Lieutenant Vekshari said, her 4 arms in ready position. "Security scans show an unauthorized life form in Maintenance Bay 7G. All areas were supposed to be cleared for our arrival." Themor's upper right arm made a dismissive gesture. "Station management grows lax. Is it a threat?" "Bioscan indicates..." Vekshari hesitated, checking her readout. "A human." A ripple of amusement passed through the squad. Humans were curiosities at best, viewed by most species as harmless bipeds who somehow managed spaceflight despite their physical limitations. Some Corvthi even kept them as pets, impressed by their trainability. "Interesting," Themor said. "The docility and tool use of humans is well documented. I've been meaning to observe one in its natural habitat. Let's modify our route." This was, technically, a violation of their own protocol. Standard procedure would have been to order station security to clear the area. but Themor's battle group had earned certain privileges through their exemplary service record. A minor detour to observe a human technician would go unreported. "Formation Epsilon," Themor ordered. "We approach with caution." Meanwhile, Maya had removed an access panel and was halfway inside the generator housing. Her slender hands worked deftly among the components, tracing power connections and coolant lines. She felt a particular satisfaction in maintenance work that most people couldn't understand. There was something deeply rewarding about keeping the invisible systems running, about being the reason people could walk through a sector without floating away or being crushed by uncontrolled gravity. She was so focused on her work that she didn't notice when her headphones began to emit a slight feedback whine, a response to the powerful comm units carried by approaching Korfti warriors. The first hint that something was wrong came when she felt a subtle change in the ambient air pressure. Maya paused, her hand still inside the generator. Something felt off, like the moment before a thunderstorm breaks, when the atmosphere itself seems to hold its breath. Should she stop what she was doing? The calibration was at a critical point. If she abandoned it now, she'd have to start over. Yet her instincts were screaming that something had changed. 2 more minutes, she decided, speaking to herself. Just need to lock this sequence in. As Maya worked, Commander Themor's battle group moved with practiced silence through the station corridors. Other species cleared a path, pressing themselves against walls or ducking into side passages. A pack of Fenrathi crystals dimmed their luminescence and withdrew their sharp edges. An Umbrathi diplomat condensed into its densest form, barely visible as a shadow. 3 deep moor traders sank deeper into their portable water tanks. The Korfti were used to this reaction. Fear was the appropriate response to their presence. When they reached Maintenance Bay 7G, the squad automatically arranged themselves in tactical positions. 4 warriors secured the perimeter. 4 others created a secondary containment ring. The remaining 4, including Themor and his lieutenants, approached the central work area, where Maya's legs protruded from inside a large machinery housing. To an outside observer, the formation would have seemed absurd. 12 heavily armed elite warriors surrounding a single human technician. But the Korfti culture left nothing to chance, especially not in potentially unknown territory. "Human," Commander Themor announced, his deep voice resonating through the bay. "You are in a restricted area." Inside the generator housing, Maya continued working, unaware of the confrontation developing around her. Her headphones blocked the commander's voice, and she was fully focused on the delicate calibration. Vexhari stepped forward, all 4 hands moving to defensive positions. "Commander, it does not respond." "Interesting," Themor rumbled. "Perhaps it's engaged in some form of trance work." He'd heard of certain species entering meditative states during technical procedures. "Signal the others to maintain position while I investigate." Themor approached the generator, his massive frame casting a shadow over Maya's workspace. With one of his lower arms, he tapped the exposed part of the generator housing, creating a vibration that Maya could feel through her hands. Inside the housing, Maya frowned. Something was interfering with the calibration. She felt a vibration that shouldn't be there, a disruption in the normal pattern. With a sigh, she secured the alignment clamp and began to back out of the housing to investigate. As Maya emerged, the first thing she saw was a pair of massive armored legs directly in front of her. Her gaze traveled upward, taking in the imposing figure of Commander Themor looming over her. Behind him stood 11 more Korfti warriors, all in battle-ready stances. Maya blinked, then calmly removed her headphones. "Hello," she said, her voice steady despite the surge of adrenaline coursing through her. "Is everything all right?" What happened next would be recorded, analyzed, and debated in xenobiological journals across the galaxy for decades to come. In perfect unison, as if responding to a silent command, all 12 Corvdi warriors, including Commander Thymor, dropped to one knee. Their plasma glaives lowered, pointing downward in a gesture unmistakable across species. Submission. Maya stared, confused. Did I miss an announcement? Is this some kind of drill? None of the Corvdi responded. They remained frozen in their kneeling positions, eyes fixed on her with an intensity that made Maya deeply uncomfortable. Around them, the maintenance bay had gone utterly silent. Other station personnel and visitors who had been watching from a safe distance now stood paralyzed with shock. A Fenrathi crystal shattered from stress. An Umbrathi diplomat expanded involuntarily, filling its containment suit to capacity. "Look," Maya said, gathering her tools. "I've got about 15 minutes to finish this calibration before the next shift comes in. If there's nothing wrong, I should really get back to it." Commander Thymor remained kneeling, but his voice found its way through his confusion. What is your designation?" "Human." "Maya Lin," she replied, checking her diagnostic pad. "Station maintenance, level 3, gravity systems." Vexari, still kneeling, whispered something in the Corvdi language. Maya couldn't understand the words, but the tone carried a mixture of awe and fear. Lieutenant Star, positioned behind Vexari, made a gesture with his upper arms that Maya recognized from xenocultural briefings, a Corvdi sign to ward off evil. "Is there a problem with my authorization?" Maya asked, growing concerned. "I've filed all the proper work orders. This section isn't listed as restricted on any of my schedules." Commander Thymor seemed to struggle with himself, as if fighting against some powerful instinct. With visible effort, he rose to his feet, though his posture remained unnaturally stiff. "No problem," he managed. "We were misinformed. Please, continue your work." Maya shrugged and turned back to the generator. As she replaced her headphones, she missed the frantic whispers passing between the Corvdi warriors. "Did you feel it?" Vexari hissed to Thymor. "The void chill, the predator sign." "Impossible," Thymor replied, though his voice lacked conviction. "They are tool users, soft-skinned, weak." "She's unafraid," Star observed, "even now." This simple observation seemed to shake the Corvdi more than anything else. In their evolutionary psychology, fear was the natural response to superior strength. Only apex predators showed no fear. Yet here was this small, apparently defenseless human, turning her back on 12 armed Corvdi warriors without the slightest sign of concern. As Maya resumed her work, other species began to gather at the edges of the maintenance bay, drawn by the unprecedented sight of kneeling Corvdi. Word spread through the station faster than any official announcement could have traveled. Within minutes, representatives from a dozen different species had assembled, watching from what they hoped was a safe distance. Among them were 3 notable figures: Whisper in Darkness, an Umbrathi envoy known for its psychic sensitivity; Depth Singer, an elder of the Deep Moor who carried their collective genetic memory; and Howlet Stars, alpha of a Fenrathi pack whose crystalline structure resonated with certain fundamental truths of the universe. These 3 moved closer together, their vastly different physiologies somehow aligned in this moment of revelation. "You sense it too," Whisper in Darkness said, its gaseous form rippling with intensity. Depth Singer's aquatic environment bubbled in agreement. "Our ancestral memories warned of them. We dismissed the warning as primitive fear. Their true nature," Howlet Stars chimed, crystal facets refracting light in patterns of alarm. "Hidden behind those soft exteriors." The 3 representatives shared what their species had separately discovered about humanity, insights that had been dismissed as curiosities rather than warnings. Humans were persistence hunters on their death world Earth. They had not evolved to be the strongest, fastest, or most well-armed predators. Instead, they had developed a terrifying alternative strategy. They simply never stopped. They would follow prey for days, walking or running at a steady pace until their exhausted targets collapsed from fatigue. Even apex predators on Earth feared humans, not for their immediate danger, but for their implacable, unstoppable pursuit. Humans were tool users, unlike any other species. Where others adapted tools to their biology, humans adapted their environment itself. They didn't evolve thick fur for cold climates. They built heating systems. They didn't develop gills. They invented underwater breathing apparatus. Every limitation of their biology became a problem to solve rather than a boundary to accept. Most disturbing of all, humans were pack strategists of unparalleled sophistication. They could coordinate in groups of thousands, even millions, all working toward complex goals over generations. They built megastructures, reshaped continents, and now reached for the stars, not through individual effort, but through collaborative vision that spanned centuries. "We've misclassified them," Whisper in Darkness concluded. "They're not prey species or even companion species. They're Apex Plus," Depthsinger finished, using the xenobiological term for a predator so dominant it shapes its entire ecosystem. But they hide it behind smiles and cooperation. Meanwhile, Commander Thamor was experiencing the most profound crisis of his military career. Everything in his training, his culture, and his instincts told him to either challenge this human for dominance or retreat from a superior predator. Yet neither action seemed appropriate. The human was simply working, ignoring them, as if 12 elite warriors weren't worth her attention. "We misjudged," Thamor said, his voice barely above a whisper. "We must inform High Command, reclassify." Before he could complete his thought, the station's lighting flickered ominously. A low vibration passed through the deck plating, subtle at first, then increasing in intensity. Maya felt it through her hands and immediately pulled off her headphones. "That's not right," she muttered, checking her diagnostic pad. The readings made her breath catch. "The primary coolant loop is failing," she announced to no one in particular. "If it goes down completely, we'll lose gravity control throughout the sector." Without waiting for a response, she dove back into the generator housing, tools flying into her hands with practiced precision. The Korvthi warriors exchanged glances, but maintained their positions, uncertain how to respond to this development. Maya's voice echoed from inside the housing. "Someone needs to get to the auxiliary control panel on the far wall, the one with the blue display. I need eyes on the pressure readings." The Korvthi remained motionless, frozen between their instinctive deference to this apparent apex predator and their uncertainty about how to proceed. After a moment of tense silence, Commander Thamor stepped forward. "Vexhari, assist the human." Lieutenant Vexhari moved to the auxiliary panel, her forearms hovering uncertainly over the unfamiliar controls. "I do not know this technology." Maya's head appeared from the housing. "Just tell me the numbers on the pressure gauge. The big dial with the needle." Vexhari examined the panel. 37.82 and rising. "Too high," Maya said, disappearing back into the housing. "We've got about 3 minutes before catastrophic failure." The gathered crowd began to withdraw, murmurs of alarm spreading. Only the Korvthi remained, still bound by some instinct they couldn't name to stay near this human. Inside the generator housing, Maya worked with focused intensity. Her hands moved with a surgeon's precision among components never designed for human manipulation. She could feel the heat building as the coolant pressure increased. Soon, the safety systems would trigger an emergency shutdown, which would cause a cascading failure throughout the sector's gravity grid. 42.15, Vekshari reported, her voice steady despite the tension. Maya didn't respond. She had found the problem, a misaligned flow regulator that had shifted during her earlier calibration work. With the right adjustment, she could bypass the safety shutdown and stabilize the system long enough to implement a proper fix. The difficulty was reaching the regulator. It was positioned behind a thermal shield, accessible through a gap barely wide enough for her arm. Even with her slender build, it would be a tight fit. 46.7, Vekshari called, critical threshold approaching. Maya took a deep breath and pushed her arm into the narrow gap. The heat was intense. The thermal shield was designed to protect the components, not maintenance workers. She could feel her skin beginning to blister, but she pressed on, fingers stretching toward the regulator. Just a little more, she grunted through clenched teeth. Her fingers brushed against the regulator. Using the tips of 2 fingers, she began to make the necessary adjustment, turning the tiny calibration screw one excruciating quarter turn at a time. 50.2, Vekshari announced. Safety protocols initiating. Override them, Maya called out. Yellow button, then code 7734, then green button. Vekshari hesitated only a moment before following the instructions, her 4 hands moving in perfect coordination across the panel. Maya could hear the emergency systems powering down as the override took effect. Now it was just her against the failing regulator. 3 more quarter turns, and the alignment would be restored. Her arm felt like it was on fire, but she blocked out the pain, focusing entirely on the tiny movements of her fingers. 2 more, she whispered to herself. Just 2 more. The station's lighting flickered again, more severely this time. In the distance, alarms began to sound as secondary systems detected the instability. 53.8, Vekshari reported, beyond all safety parameters. With a final effort, Maya completed the adjustment. The regulator clicked into place, and immediately she could feel the change in the system's vibration, a shift from the erratic pulsing of imminent failure to the smooth hum of normal operation. It's done, she called, carefully withdrawing her arm from the gap. Pressure should be dropping now. Vekshari checked the gauge. 52.1, 50, 47. A collective breath seemed to release throughout the maintenance bay. The station's lighting stabilized, and the distant alarms fell silent. After a moment, the PA system crackled to life. Attention all personnel and visitors. Technical difficulties have been resolved. All systems nominal. Repeat. All systems nominal. Maya emerged from the generator housing, her face streaked with lubricant and coolant residue. Her right arm was red and blistered from wrist to elbow, but she barely seemed to notice the injury as she checked her diagnostic pad. Alignment restored, she confirmed, satisfaction evident in her voice. We'll need to replace the regulator during the next maintenance cycle, but it'll hold for now. She finally looked up, seeming to remember the Corvdi warriors still surrounding her. Thanks for the help with the panel, she said to Vekshari, with a casual nod that made the lieutenant's eyes widen in surprise. Commander Thymor had watched the entire crisis unfold with growing amazement. This human had faced potential catastrophic failure, an event that could have killed everyone in the sector, with the same calm focus she'd shown when calibrating a minor system. No panic, no hesitation, just methodical problem-solving under extreme pressure. And she had done it all with her bare hands, suffering injury without complaint to complete her task. In that moment, something fundamental shifted in Thymor's understanding of the galaxy. As one, the Corvdi warriors rose to their feet. Commander Thymor stepped forward, all four arms extended in the formal gesture of respect reserved for equals, a gesture no Korfthi had ever offered to a non-Korfthi before. "Maya Lin of Maintenance," he said, his voice carrying the weight of official declaration. "The Korfthi 7th Battle Group acknowledges your expertise." The careful pause before the final word spoke volumes to those who understood Korfthi culture. It was not merely her technical skill being recognized, but something far more significant. Maya blinked, uncertain how to respond to the formal address. Thank you. It's just my job." "Just your job," Vekshari repeated softly, as if the phrase contained some profound wisdom. Commander Themor activated his comm unit. Priority transmission to High Command. Authentication. Themor, Alpha 7-9. Subject. Humanity Classification Update. As he spoke into the comm, the other Korfthi warriors maintained their positions, eyes still fixed on Maya with that same unsettling intensity. Humanity. Apex Plus. Thomor dictated, "Adjust all treaties accordingly. Request immediate diplomatic revision. Full report to follow." Throughout Nexus Prime, the implications of what had just occurred in Maintenance Bay 7G began to ripple outward. Species that had dismissed humans as curiosities or servants suddenly reevaluated their positions. Alliances shifted in whispered conversations. Security protocols were hastily reviewed. Maya, oblivious to the galactic tectonic shift she had provoked, was more concerned with completing her work order. "I still need to finish the calibration," she said, reaching for her tools. "Should take about 10 more minutes, if that's okay." "We will secure the area," Commander Themor announced, signaling his warriors to establish a perimeter that would allow Maya to work undisturbed. As Maya returned to her task, the 3 alien representatives who had been observing, Whisper in Darkness, Depth Singer, and Howlet Stars, convened in urgent discussion. The signs were always there. Depth Singer bubbled. Their homeworld, a death world by any standard. 9 times the atmospheric pressure of our world, crushing gravity, extreme temperature variations, constant radiation from their star. Their endurance, Howlet Stars chimed. While we evolved for sudden bursts of action, they evolved to simply continue. They do not stop, even when damaged. Their apparent harmlessness, Whisper in Darkness added, its gaseous form rippling with new understanding. The perfect ambush predator doesn't appear threatening until the moment of strike. But most concerning, Depth Singer concluded, is their infiltration strategy. While we contested military supremacy, they quietly took control of our infrastructure. They maintain our life support systems. They repair our ships. They understand the technology that keeps us alive better than we do ourselves. The implications hung in the air between them. If humans chose to, they could simply stop maintaining things, and the galaxy would grind to a halt. Meanwhile, Maya had completed her calibration work. She packed her tools methodically, ran a final diagnostic check, and updated her work order on her pad. The gravity generator now hummed with perfect precision, its operation so smooth it was nearly imperceptible. "All done," she announced, slinging her tool bag over her shoulder. "Should be stable now for at least 3 months, barring any unusual stress." Commander Themor nodded gravely. "The Korfthi 7th Battle Group acknowledges your service to station integrity." Maya smiled, still puzzled by the formal tone but pleased by the recognition. "Just doing my job," she repeated. "If you don't need anything else, I should report back to my supervisor." "You may proceed," Themor said, stepping aside to clear a path for her. As Maya walked away, the Korfthi warriors maintained their respectful positions until she had left the maintenance bay. Only then did they relax their stance, exchanging looks that contained equal parts relief and concern. "What happened?" Lieutenant Zathar asked, his voice pitched low. "Why did we?" "Neil?" Vekshari finished. "I don't know. It was instinct. Something deeper than training." Commander Themor's expression was solemn. "Our evolutionary psychology recognized what our conscious minds refused to see. The true apex predator is not the one with the most visible weapons, but the one who has no need to display them." The gathered crowd began to disperse, each species taking away their own interpretation of what they had witnessed. By the end of the day, the story had spread throughout Nexus Prime and to ships departing for a dozen different star systems. In the station's diplomatic quarter, emergency sessions were called. Treaties that had stood for generations were suddenly up for renegotiation. Species that had previously ignored humanity now scrambled to establish formal relations. And in her small quarters on Deck 12, Maya Lin initiated a video call to her family back on Earth, completely unaware of the diplomatic firestorm spreading through the galaxy. "Hey everyone," she said cheerfully, as her parents and younger brother appeared on the screen. "How's things back home?" "Same as always," her father replied. "Your mother's garden is doing well, and your brother finally got that promotion at the atmospheric reclamation plant." "That's great," Maya said. "I had an interesting day too. Fixed that tricky generator in Sector 7, finally. Oh, and I met some of those big four-armed aliens everyone's always talking about. The Korvthi? They were actually pretty polite." Her mother leaned forward. "Were they scary?" "I've heard stories." Maya shrugged. "Not really. A bit formal. Maybe. One of them helped me read a pressure gauge during an emergency. They seemed impressed by the repair work." Behind her family on the screen, a news crawler scrolled with headlines Maya couldn't see. "Unprecedented diplomatic overhaul following incident at Nexus Prime. Korvthi Empire proposes new alliance framework. Humanity reclassified in Galactic Registry." "Anyway," Maya continued, "I've got early shift tomorrow. More calibrations in Sector 8. Should be pretty routine." As the call ended and Maya prepared for sleep, she remained blissfully unaware that xenobiologists across the galaxy were frantically updating their databases, that military strategists were revising threat assessments, and that diplomats were working through the night to establish new protocols for human interaction. In the Korvthi flagship Inevitability, Commander Thamor composed his full report to High Command, carefully documenting every detail of their encounter with Maya Lin. His conclusion was simple but profound. Most dangerous species in the galaxy, just your friendly neighborhood maintenance tech. The next morning, as Maya walked through the corridors of Nexus Prime toward her next assignment, she noticed something odd. Species that had previously ignored her now moved respectfully out of her path. A Fenrathi crystal dimmed its luminescence in what appeared to be a gesture of deference. An Umbrathi diplomat condensed slightly as she passed. Maya adjusted her tool bag and continued walking, assuming it was just another strange day on a station full of different cultures and customs. She had generators to calibrate, systems to maintain, and invisible infrastructures to keep running smoothly. And the galaxy, with its newly discovered respect for humanity, watched her go.